He had the skill set to be able to achieve it. The opportunity didn't rise up, but now he has got a World Championship underneath his belt.
Yeah, and don't forget, of course, that he walks away from Formula E midway through season. Bear with me.
So gap to car ahead seems quite okay. Reminder that we can gap only before turn 19, and we are going push next lap.
So a little bit of information there, push next lap, which is this lap that Pascal Wehrlein is starting now, but you saw his eyes. That's something you don't very often see, because this is actually inside a building at this moment in time. Then they're running with a clearer visor, so you will see a little bit more of the driver's eye view, not necessarily the one they're looking at, but the one that you're looking into.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen here for Pascal Wehrlein and indeed for the whole Porsche team here this weekend. Just to remind you, in terms of the team's championship, Porsche leading Nissan by 23 points. They need a 48-point advantage at the end of tomorrow, which is possible, by the way, in order to be crowned as the team's champions of season 11. They've been in great form over the last couple of weekends, and you have to say, with Nissan, it's pretty much been a one-man band sort of display, really, hasn't it? You know, Oliver Rowland has got the dog share of points there, or the line share, I should say, rather, over the course of this year.
He has, and that's the difference, I think, with the Porsche drivers. But to be honest with you, to have a better weekend than them in Berlin, all they need...
And reminder that we are doing a double push.
Just hearing a strategy there. Yeah, all they need to do is not crash into each other in the first practice session to already be in a head start from the last time out on track. Obviously, that was a major moment for the team, and obviously with one of the drivers taking a grid penalty as well, that's not what they wanted in their fight for the team's championship. And it's little mistakes like that that you don't want happening on big pressure weekends like this.
Double push lap for Pascal Wehrlein, meaning that he's just attacking both laps consecutively. Normally you would have an attack lap, then a cool lap, and then attack again. But this is a very slippery surface. Doesn't have a lot of grip, and I think they'll be trying to feel out exactly how much they can go and what they can benefit when they actually just keep leaning on that tire a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just to remind you that in terms of the pace for last year here in Free Practice 1, we were 1:11.2. We're already 1:11.8 just a few minutes into this session, so expect that time to continue to tumble. We'll give you an idea of how it is going to work out over the remainder of this session. Anyway, with just under 32 minutes left, let's go down to Alexa, who is in the pit lane. Alexa, who have you found for us?
Thank you, Tom. I'm down here with James Barkley. And James, it's a big weekend for you guys. It's your final race with the team. It's Nick Cassidy's final race with the team. Talk to me a little bit about your mentality going into this one.
Oh, listen, it's all about eyes forward. We've got 2 races to go. We've got some real momentum behind us, and it's not over yet in this championship. And I feel, yeah, with 4 race wins with our team, 5 if we include Envision's win in Monaco, we've got a lot of good ingredients. So we want to try and do the best weekend as possible, and then we can do our goodbyes after this weekend, but for now it's a lot of racing to get done.
Well, as you said, you had a great weekend last time out in Berlin, 2 victories. Coming here, you sort of alluded to it. What's the target for the team? Is there something in the standings that you're wanting to achieve here? Yeah,
I mean, top 3 is possible in all championships still. If you look at it mathematically, top 2 in the drivers, and even, you know, the teams is still actually, there's an opportunity to really be above top 3. So that's got to be our goal. You know, it's all there for the racing for. We've seen teams have double DNFs this year. We've been unfortunate to have some of those ourselves this year. So yeah, never give up until that last lap.
And historically, you guys have gone very well here. I'm sure we can see a bit of the same for that final weekend, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Firstly, both drivers enjoy it and go well around here. Look at their record of the last few years, both of them. And then we get a bit of the hometown support. You know, we've got a lot of fans, a lot of colleagues. They're going to be here this weekend, so that's a bit of extra motivation. We want to try and win at home.
And just finally, we're just settling into FP1 now. What are some of the challenges of this track and getting set up for it, coming off the back of Berlin especially? Yeah,
I mean, it's very unique. This idea of half in, half outdoor, it creates quite a challenge in terms of the how we set the car up. It's a very different grip level inside it is outside, so you've got to kind of take that into account. Of course, the weather can play a role if it's dry inside and wet outside. So there's a lot to take into account around here, really is. And yeah, it's always technically a difficult one. Qualifying is really important here, though, because it's not the easiest track to overtake on. So you've got to get in quali.
Thank you so much, James. Best of luck for the weekend, and back to you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Alexa. Thank you to James Barclay there. Big emphasis, as James said, on qualifying this weekend due to the tight and twisty confines of this circuit. Of course, this is the swan song for James Barclay as the team principal of Jaguar TCS Racing. He'll be off to pastures new after this weekend, working with this team, Neil McLaren, or the McLaren team, as part of their hypercar project in the World Endurance Championship. Got a yellow flag out down at turn 18. Looks like from our driver tracker in the commentary box that it is Lucas de Grassi who has come to a stop.
Yeah, and we're coming down to the fast chicane, which is 12, 13, 14. And so it's just a little bit later. And there you see him, and he stopped as he came up the hill in towards the final corner. And so de Grassi, it looks like, well, clearly a technical issue. And they'll be trying to see if they can reset the systems and get him moving again. Thomas Biermeier, he's a team principal and basically the head of all of ABB Motorsport, looking on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here, because if we can't get that car going, there is a likelihood we could get a red flag in this one. They'll be doing a systems reset, trying to control or delete it at this point.
Yeah, they can't. The problem is, here he is, radio.
I have a crash alarm with the car, but so shutdown imminent. I have a problem.
Yeah, attention everyone, this is Race Control speaking. We have a car stopped between T18 and 19. Please obey the flags. All the cars before turn 18, please, you can accelerate and keep speed higher than 50 kilometers per hour to get back as soon as possible.
Clear information from race direction there. Come back as quickly as possible. Want to obviously get this cleared as quickly as possible. As the red flag, the time is still counting down, still 27 minutes and 40 seconds to go, but reducing. It looks like there is a issue there with de Grassi. It's not that he's had a crash, but the fact that the car thinks that there is a problem, which doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, saying that there's a crash alarm that's gone off, so the system has detected that. We had that with Dan Ticktum, I believe, earlier this year, if memory serves me correctly, and he had a similar thing where he had a big snap of oversteer, corrected it so fast, but the system detected it as a crash, essentially, so it basically stopped the car. Let's have a look whilst we're on board here with de Grassi, see if we can piece together what happened. So we're coming down in towards turn 16. This is the hairpin.
It's already got a red light, a bar across the top of the steering wheel. You see there, red bar and some wording. And then it's immediately stopped. So it was, as he was coming through the chicane, it would be very interesting if we could see the chicane before it, whether he's clipped curbs or something like that, or there's been a reaction, but he's now trying to find a safe place and just doesn't have the speed to get up the hill.
So, de Grassi stranded on the circuit at the moment. Timer continues to count down, as you can see on the top left-hand corner of your screen, which means the drivers, depending on how long this session is going to go, well, going to be stopped for, are going to be losing a fair amount of track time.
The issue is that at the moment they're still waiting on cars coming back, and then to get de Grassi moving, so you're probably going to look at about 5 minutes or something of red flag, I would suggest.
Yeah, it's not been a particularly brilliant couple of weekends.
Yeah, the radio's back. I'm trying to power cycle.
Lucas, we have a FL0 arrow. I don't think we will manage it. Now they red flag it and they pull you in.
Yeah, so get the tow rope out here for then Lucas de Grassi to get him back into the pit lane. But as I was saying, it's been a difficult couple of weekends for him. He had a crash in Berlin, if you remember, in the morning free practice session. Just hear him talking on the team radio at the moment, but had a crash there. The team had to rebuild the car. He recovered to 12th for the E-Prix. So we're riding on board here with de Grassi. We'll be quiet. Let's have a listen, see if we can piece anything together. We're just going through the first sector at the moment. Into the middle sector, all seems fine so far. It's a little bit later on in the lap. So, on board here with Lucas de Grassi, it's going to be coming into this chicane. Keep an eye out for the steering wheel.
Screen's okay at the moment. There's nothing untoward there, but already lights flashing, and as soon as he's gone over the bump, there's a vertical bump there, actually, and it could have been a vertical G point, and we've had that before in Rome, if you remember, where you're reaching peak G, which then shut the battery systems down.
Yeah, it's
possibility of something like that. But whichever way, Lucas didn't do anything, and there was a system shutdown that has meant that we've got this red flag.
Yeah, we're just coming into the chicane looking at a super slow-mo here then of Lucas di Grassi. If you have just joined us, by the way, with just under 25 minutes left to go of free practice 1, we've had a red flag situation because Lucas di Grassi has come to a stop in the final sector of the circuit. Essentially, the car triggered a crash alarm. So we're trying to work out exactly what happens. As Alan was just very well explaining, it could be in fact that there's a G sensor that's detected a crash or something along the lines of that. Either way, it's brought an early end to the Brazilian driver's session. It's also brought an end prematurely to everybody else's session because the red flag is out. Of course, everyone's gone back into the pit lane and di Grassi's car needs to be recovered. So not ideal at all there for di Grassi, and it could be an end to his running here on Friday.
That's a real shame to start the weekend like that. That's so pivotal. When you get such a little running track, time on track before qualifying, that will really impact his weekend. So hopefully they'll be able to reset and he can get back out for a few laps at the end of this session. It's
been a very learning year for the team because Yamaha first time in the championship, same for Lola as well. Obviously Abt are super experienced, been there from day one and won championships, teams and also drivers titles as well. And so from their perspective, it's a frustrating year, but it's a building year and it's on a roadmap. And so I think therefore it is going to be a difficult last weekend for them, and especially for Lucas if he doesn't get back out. But it's part of the road that a team needs to go if they're going to be successful in this championship.
Yeah, big long-term goal for the Lola Yamaha Abt team. Of course, that team have been in Formula E since day one, essentially. Alan, of course, you've got a lot of experience with the Abt outfit.
That's exactly why I know they'll be frustrated by the fact that they know how competitive they are. You know, Marcus Mickelberger's been working with Lucas di Grassi as engineer for a long, long time. They know each other intrinsically well, and just the wider Abt team are super, super strong. And so I know that they'll be frustrated, but they'll bounce back up straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go down to Alexa whilst we're under a red flag. Catch up with team principal for Lola Yamaha Abt, Thomas Biermeier, and catch up with him, see if he can shed any more light on the situation with Lucas di Grassi.
Thank you, Tom. Thomas, we've got the car coming in right behind us here. I know it's early days, but can you tell us what the situation is?
Not exactly, to be honest, because first we have to check data. Something happened, was the first quick lap, and then we hit a bump, and then we got an error, a crash error, but we had no crash. So something happened with the battery. We will see. We have to check data now, and hopefully we can continue FP1.
Is this something that the teams had before?
No, never, never with us. I don't know with the other teams maybe, but not with us. And like I said, we have to check now, and yeah, especially free practice here is very important. So hopefully we don't miss too much track time.
Well, actually, I just wanted to touch on that. What is it about here that makes free practice so important, and how would this, if you can't get him out, impact your run plan for tomorrow and the rest of the weekend?
Especially here, it's a special layout you can't overtake. So qualifying is very important. So we have to make the car ready, the setup ready for qualifying to get one quick lap. So you need track time for that, and especially we need track time because it's first time for us being with the Lola Yamaha car here on track. So we need that time, and hopefully we will get it.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll let you get back to it. Back to you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you to Thomas Biermeier, thank you to Alexa there. So exactly as you said, Alan, it's almost like you've done this job before.
Yeah. Thank you. No, but it was when you could see that immediately as he hit the bump on the back straight that, and this is quite early in the lap, so now you're coming down to the fast chicane radio.
It happened on the back straight during the compression, during the bump, more or less, in the back straight.
Copy, we check.
At radio, just here, you see there's a compression and then a bump, and the car takes a bit of a shock. More than likely, it touches the ground at that point. That radio message was actually inserted in so that it wasn't live at that particular time, and he was predicting the future, but it was on that vertical bump that it's caused the problem.
So now with di Grassi's car about to be worked on, the session is about to get back underway, and as you can see, it will be extended by 8 minutes as well. So the green light will come on at the end of pit lane. Drivers, 21 of them, will come back out onto the circuit, and we will now have another 28 minutes worth of running for this free practice one session. That's good news for those who lost time, because it means that they effectively it becomes the same plan as they would have had prior to that red flag as they now come back out onto the circuit.
Yeah, well, the question is for Lucas whether he'll be able to get back out, and that's something that we'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure Alexa will be eagerly telling us when it's getting close to for knowledge of that one.
But I wonder also if that compression is going to be throwing a few issues for other teams.
It can. We've had situations similar in the past. If it is what I think it could be, and you just have to try and work your way around the bump. You maybe go half a metre to the left or 30 centimetres to the right, and you have nothing. Or alternatively, if the worst comes to the worst, you have to raise the car a little bit. But if you raise the car further off the ground, as you know, Katie, that's less performance, and you never like to give away performance.
Well, if we were back in Extreme, we would all be out there with shovels and pile of dirt.
Well, hang on a minute, that's exactly. Oliver Rowland just exploring the limits of the custom house chicane here in the runoff area.
Yeah, but that's interesting because that's one of the runoff areas. There's 3 runoff areas now for this circuit at turn 1 and at the chicane as you come out of the arena onto the outside perimeter roads. And it allows you just to attack that a little bit deeper into the braking areas with the knowledge you can use them.
And also, just to remind you, when they do run off at those points, they have to come to a complete stop before they can then go back on to the live race circuit. You're not allowed to cut it and then sort of resume slowly. We saw that with Zay Maloney back in Miami, where he came through, resumed without stopping, and then picked up a penalty for his troubles. Let's have a look at Rowland. See, locking the outside front, coming down into there.
Yeah, it's easier and better when you do lock up. You see, watch his left front tyre. There, just there, a couple of points. Right, what's my option? Try to make the chicane. If I'm trying to make the chicane, I've lost roughly about 20% of my braking performance, so therefore I brake far too late. You're better just to abort and go down the escape road and then not damage the tyre.
4 push on that run, mate. The session has been extended, so we can go out, push, go, push, go, push 4 times. So 2 laps in 8, 2 laps in 4.
So, talking about the run plan there for Oliver Rowland, so essentially going to be doing 2 push laps, and when they say push cool, essentially means you do 1 push lap, then you do 1 lap to cool down the tyres, cool down the brakes, then get it back into the right operating window, rinse and repeat sort of thing here for Oliver Rowland. So he's doing a sort of build lap at the moment to try and get everything into that right operating window. See him making his way through the chicane. How bumpy it is over the crest of the hill there.
That was the rear tyres coming off the ground there. That's full motocross spec. As now he floats the back of the car, he's hustling the car, Rowland, at the moment. His best sector 2, and as he now comes towards the last couple of corners.
Yeah, so coming down towards turn 19, this is into the XL centre then, so we go into the darkness, and then we have a big change of surface. Interestingly, a lot of this circuit has been resurfaced, essentially. There's been a lot of work that's been going on here at the XL Centre. It now actually is the largest exhibition centre in all of Europe, believe it or not, courtesy of an expansion that's been going on, and they've resurfaced a lot of this back part of the circuit. But we're coming out of turn 14, and you can see the car pitching as it comes over here, and then look at that. Proper Dukes of Hazzard spec, isn't it?
It certainly is, but that's the sort of thing you don't want to be happening, so hence the reason you'll try to find a way around about those bumps. What can you do to stop the car taking off? Because if it takes off, it's not putting the power on the ground.
Nick de Vries back in the seat this weekend. Felipe Drugovich was in for him in Berlin a fortnight ago as Nick was over racing in Sao Paulo in the World Endurance Championship, and actually did a phenomenal job, especially on the Sunday, Felipe Drugovich, to get into 7th position, score his first points in his debut weekend in Formula E. Amazingly, the Brazilian driver, it was his first weekend racing a single-seater since 2022.
Big slide there from de Vries, but like de Vries, Drugovich was a FIA Formula 2 champion, so he can drive, he is quick. He's been doing F1 testing with Aston Martin, and so it wasn't a surprise he was quick. What surprised me was his understanding very quickly how to manage energy and also how to manage the racing strategy that is quite unique in Formula E.
Yeah, it was a big old pack race, wasn't it, on the Sunday in particular, with no pit boost to worry about. And we saw a lot of overtaking. In fact, as we see, de Vries just going a bit deep there down in towards turn 16.
But it looks fantastic. The way they're coming in there, trying to get onto the brakes, trying to slow the car down as the recuperation's happening, the rear is pivoting around behind them. It really is sort of neatly holding the steering and dancing on the brake pedal.
Bit of housekeeping to do for you this weekend as well. You might be wondering why the drivers don't have any LEDs illuminating the car at the moment. Well, as you can see, we've got Marvel Fantastic Four as the title sponsor for this weekend, and courtesy of that, there are going to be no lights for the cars when they're in their normal 300 kilowatt mode. Then when we go to attack mode, the lights will turn blue for this weekend only. So when you see the LEDs being illuminated, that's when you know the drivers are on a full 350 kilowatt all-wheel drive push lap.
Talking about push laps, what did you say was the fastest time in FP1 last year?
1:11.2.
And we're now down at a 1:10.4, when Nick Cassidy followed up by 0.025 of a second behind Jake Dennis.
Absolutely. Well, we just saw Nick de Vries sliding his way through the lap here at the XL Centre in London. He's currently 10th quickest with his teammate Eder Mortara in 12th. Let's go down to Alexa and catch up with their team principal, Fred Bertrand.
Thank you, Tom. Now, Fred, we're looking here at the end of the season at all of the championship fight. You're currently sat in 6th in the standings, but you're not far off that fight for 3rd. Where is your team's head at this weekend?
Oh, I think we come here like the other weekend. We try to do and deliver the best possible execution, and then after that, normally points are coming. We have managed up to now to score at each race more or less average of 10 points. If we can keep on going with this trend, it will be good. We also need to control a bit what the others are doing behind and in front, because it's very tight. But definitely we come here with the ambition of trying to reach top 5 and at the end of the championship, which would be for us a very good season.
Well, actually, that's what I wanted to touch on. At the start of the year, you were unsure about kind of where the team would lie. Are you pleased with this point now, where you've ended up and to be battling for 5th?
Well, first of all, it's not finished.
Battling.
But no, we are happy because we did the step we wanted to do, which means that we were last. Now we are back to the top half of the championship. That was very important for us. But this gives ambition and gives appetite for a bit more. So we are starting to get very, let's say, looking for a lot for next season for sure, and trying to finish on the high this season. That would be perfect.
And we've seen podiums for Edo at the last 2 race locations. Things are looking really good for the team. What is it do you think has given you this newfound momentum?
I think it's the taste of champagne, probably. But no, we love to be on podium for sure. It's a big achievement each time. But as I said, for us, the target was scoring point on a regular basis. And for sure, when you do on top of that the top 3, it means more points, and it means going on an additional reward for the team. But in general, that's a good feeling we like to feel again. So let's work on it for this weekend already.
Hope you get a bit more of it. Thank you, Fred. We'll let you go. Back to you, Tom.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks to Fred Bertrand. The Mahindra team, of course, interlocked in a great battle for 5th in the Teams Championship. We're looking here, though, at Mitch Evans, the most recent, or second most recent winner in Formula E. Of course, he won on Saturday in Berlin. Teammate Nick Cassidy came from 20th to win the race on Sunday. Jaguar was enjoying somewhat of a renaissance at this latter stage of the season after what has been a challenging season 11. Evans goes to the top of the pile with a 1:09.915. Just a notice coming up on our timing screen. Jake Dennis under investigation for a pit boost state of charge infraction. So this free practice 1 session, an opportunity for teams to get some practice in ahead of the E3 tomorrow afternoon, and possibly some work outside of the rules going on there for the Andretti team.
But it was also the Andretti team that struggled with Nico Müller losing a race because of it, if you remember.
Yeah,
this
Monaco.
year. So I think pit boost has been a real challenge for them. I think also in the testing they had problems. So it's strange. I wonder if it's the unit or...
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how it works out this weekend, because very short pit lane here. I mean, if you remember back to Lucas de Grassi when he came through the pit lane, Alan McNish, to come through during a safety car and take the lead of the race.
Yeah, it is quite a short pit lane here, but pit boost still will be quite a critical point, because you have to do it in a certain window when the state of charge of the battery is between 60% and 40%, and that will give them about a 3 or a 4 lap window roughly, as we see Robin Freins dancing down into the heavy braking area as you come into the stadium section. And that, I think, will tomorrow be pretty difficult, and different on Sunday as well, because they don't have pit boost on Sunday. So therefore, strategically, actually, there's a focus for tomorrow, and there's a different one coming up for Sunday. Freins about to pop out the last corner. This has been a very attacking lap by Robin. and he goes to the top of the timesheets, 1:87.77. You said the fastest time in FP1 was?
1:10.2.
11.2.
Beg your pardon. Yeah, right. So, yeah, what, 3 seconds faster already at this stage, aren't we?
They've been super quick in the last few races. Robin's really starting to lean into it, and obviously a very difficult season for the Envision team. They've been championship contenders, I think, every season that they've really competed in, but this year's been a real hard one. Won the team's title a few years ago with Nick Cassidy as well.
So you can see the Andretti here of Jake Dennis, who's in a full attack mode lap at the moment. He goes to the top of the pile, bettering the 1:08.7 from Robin Freitas by 1/10 of a second. Goes into the 1:08.6s then, does the Season 9 World Champion. As we see Sebastian Buemi being pushed back into the Envision pit box at the moment. He's had a good season here, Sebastian Buemi. Envision working out what their lineup is going to be for Season 12 is an interesting one. I understand that they're quite keen to keep Sebastian Buemi. Not quite sure what's happening with Freitas on the other side of the garage, but I know that they are a team that favour consistency over, you know, going through anything wild. So I would be surprised if they did change their driver lineup for next year.
But they are also a team that will look at a driver that's maybe not quite in the paddock and give him an opportunity. Nick Cassidy being one of them.
Correct.
And so from that perspective, I wouldn't just say that they would sit on, you know, the current base and just think about trying to optimise the details they've got. They are quite willing to take a bit of a risk. And Robin was definitely taking a bit of a risk there, Katie, when he threw it in.
Yeah,
it's a bit more like you.
That is, this is my sort of track. I'm a bit jealous of these guys getting to go out and drive like this. I think this is how I would definitely drive if I had the chance to drive a Formula E car.
Backing it in every corner.
Absolutely. But it's a difficult corner there, you know, coming over that hill. Everything's going light, obviously, with the suspension, and then trying to find the grip through the braking without braking too early. It's a tricky one. There's a lot of lap time in that.
These cars look phenomenal when they're in a full attack mode lap, as we can see with Mitch Evans at the moment, just going through turn 16. This is where, if you remember, he missed attack mode on a couple of occasions last year. And to be honest, we were all talking about prior to the weekend, this is Jaguar's weekend to lose. And lose it they did. They had a Drivers' World Championship on the... It sort of slipped through their fingers, essentially. Cassidy and Evans both had various issues over the course of that weekend. And ultimately, the Drivers' Championship went to Pascal Wehrlein. Fast forward 12 months, how different the landscape is for Jaguar TCS Racing now.
Yeah, completely different. Just shows you, well, 12 months. It was, I think, the first race of or second race of this season. They won the first race with Mitch Evans, but then after that, there was just like no points at all. And they went from hero to zero and back into it now. They've won 3 out of the last 4 races. Yep. They've scored 104 points in the last 4 races. Nissan in second have scored 15 points in the last 4 races. I actually think Jag could be really strong and a contender for second in the title.
Max Günther there, I don't think he'll be very happy with one of the Neon McLarens that he got very close to coming down the back straight in towards the Custom House chicane. Custom House in, you see clatters over that taller inside curb, which then pushes him wide for the second corner.
Got to be really careful with that second part, the concrete part of the curb. Not only does it actually bounce you wide, it puts so much force in through the steering when you are turning, and it's not designed for that. And so you have to be really careful there. You can damage the suspension quite easily by clouting it a bit too heavily.
See a bit of extra sponsorship there for the Lola Yamaha app team. The Living Things drink logos adorning the side of that car. So yellow, blue, and now green livery for that team. Degrassi, a yellow, black and white flag for not following the marshal's instructions as well. So that's sort of a warning, isn't it, really? Black and white flag. Do it again.
It is, but I'm not sure when he got that black and white flag.
But he's
around on the circuit, so he is running around, but I'm not 100% sure which marshal's instructions they're talking about.
Yeah, Sam Bird out on the circuit at the moment. This, of course, is the swan song weekend for the Neon McLaren team in Formula E. At the end of the race on Sunday, they will cease to be a competitor going into season 12.
You made me jump there, Alan.
Yeah, but that was a bit close to the ball.
Sam Bird really pushing the limits of the car, and it would be lovely for that team to go out on a high because, of course, they've got one driver that is likely to go on to pastures new, one that's likely to exit from the paddock, and, of course, a lot of the team that are looking to try and find new employment going into next year as well, sadly.
And personally, I'd be very happy if Sam had a strong result out of it as well, because he's been one of the most competitive drivers over the term of Formula E, and a real fighter. And as he pops himself up into 7th place there, and it'd be good to see Sam having a strong run here in London.
Yeah, it's great to see Sam Bird still harrying this car. As I said earlier on, new livery for that team here. They've gone blue for this weekend. They've also got the same helmet design, Sam Bird and Taylor Barnard. So looking forward to picking the bones out of that one. You will be able to notice some slight differences between the car. The main one being the fact that one of the drivers will have fluorescent yellow top of the camera on the roll hoop, and one will be black, like, for example, here with Oliver Rowland. So we'll keep you abreast of that and try and work out who's who. I can't wait for that during the race conditions.
Yeah, it's going to keep you on your toes. Have you seen blue lights? Think it's a magic warning. So that's obviously the colour that the car goes when you have an impact and you have to check everything out.
Yeah, you see.
Normally.
No, well, exactly that. Yeah, going down in towards the first corner here for Nick de Vries in the Mahindra. Just looking at Robin Freitz and Sebastian Buemi. Buemi coming out of the pit lane then for another run in this session with 12 minutes left of this one. It's interesting actually because we're on a slightly later schedule here this weekend as well. Normally we get free practice 2 starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow it doesn't start until gone 10 o'clock. The race is at 5 p.m. It's a couple of hours later. So I wonder what that's going to mean for, you know, drivers' track conditions. Will it be cooler? Will it be warmer? And so on and so forth.
We're in the UK, it's not going to change too much.
If we were in Scotland, on the other hand,
yeah, but you have different light. Now, already round here, you've got different light visions as the Vries is now running in. And I would say that's probably the bigger factor of it. It's a little bit later. It's not a huge amount later. It's not like racing at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. But.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So looking at the Vries coming in towards this final couple of corners. If you remember back in season 9, we ended up having a car park here. A couple of drivers crashed, blocked the road, and everybody else queued up behind. As we see de Vries coming across the line, he's on a personal best and improves up to 7th quickest for the Dutchman then.
Tell you what, we talked about the fact it was going to be tough for Lucas de Grassi. Doesn't get out. He's actually popped himself up into 14th place. And so it looks like that Lola Yamaha is running pretty well round here. Yeah. From 11th, Maxi Günther in 11th is 0.3 of a second. Admittedly, there's a bit of a jump up to the people that have used their full 350 kilowatt.
Yeah, lots of rumours swirling around in the paddock at the moment. Andretti, though, look like they're going to be staying put with Jake Dennis. Not quite sure whether Nico Muller will be on the other side of the garage. Anyway, let's head down to their team principal, Roger Griffiths, catching up with Alexa. Dennis and Muller currently 3rd and 8th at this point in the session.
Thank you, Tom. As you said, it's been a pretty good session so far for the guys, getting plenty of data, looking quick. You've had some pretty amazing moments here in London in the past. You must be looking to make more of them this weekend.
No, I mean, this track has really been a favourite of the teams and a favourite of Jake's. I mean, I think a couple of pole positions, a couple of race wins, a championship. So, yeah, I mean, championship's not on the line, unfortunately, this year, but we got 2 opportunities to try and be on the top step of the podium, so we're going to do our very best to add to that win total. But Jake so far is looking really strong, and Nico as well. I mean, I think it really just shows momentum of the team coming out of Berlin, you know, and also a good race and a run for Nico in Jakarta. So we're starting to find the form that we should have had all season.
And of course, we're looking at the Manufacturers' Championship as well. Can you give us a little bit of an insight into what those conversations have been like with Porsche? How can you work together to try and achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not straightforward. I mean, we've seen trying to coordinate 4 or 6 cars on the racetrack is that, you know, it's not easy. We'll obviously do what we can to help Porsche win the manufacturer's title. I mean, we're very proud to carry the Porsche crest on the front of the car. But, you know, we've also got our own team championship on the line as well. So, you know, we'll do what we can, but, you know, it's sort of mixed emotions at times. But certainly if there's anything we can do to move them up and win the title, we'll do our very best.
And we do have to ask, given that it's coming to the end of the season, we're all talking about silly season, particularly for someone like Nico, who's had a little bit of a tougher year. How do you try and separate that from what you guys are doing in the garage this weekend?
We just focus one race at a time. I mean, you know, what's happened in the past, we put it behind us. We don't ignore it, we learn from it. But, you know, in Nico's case, had a good chat with him on Wednesday night. We had a team building dinner, all went out together. We had some good pizza together, courtesy of Jake. And we love it when our drivers buy the food for the team. But no, we're in good spirits. We're working hard together. I mean, he's in a really good frame of mind. We all want to finish the season strong. So I don't mind who wins this weekend, as long as it's an Andretti car on top of the podium.
Very well said. Thank you, Roger. We'll let you get back to it. Back to you, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Alexa. Thank you to Roger Griffiths. Got a yellow flag out down at turn 16, and it's Lucas Di Grassi. Looks like he's come to a stop again, according to our driver tracker in the commentary box. So clearly more technical problems there for the Brazilian driver. And, well, that's not good at all, to have a technical problem, then to go back out on the track, have another one. One, not great for yourself, but also not great for other drivers if he's not able to get it going again.
Very similar place on the circuit to where he stopped before. Red flag again with 7 minutes, 50 seconds to go. So there is Di Grassi on the left-hand side of the circuit. Again, it looks like a technical issue, not a crash or a spin or something.
So, just out of curiosity here, he's gone out on track again, obviously having had a technical problem. He's done a couple of laps ever since, everything seems fine. The likelihood of lightning striking twice is probably quite slim, but you can see him here talking to the team.
Hi everyone, this is Race Control speaking. Please respect the flags. The car is stopped at the driver left-hand side at turn 17.
Yeah, so good to hear there from Marek Haniszewski, just communicating with the drivers and the team. So I imagine we're probably not going to get a further extension of this session. But do you think the race direction, the stewards might be having a little look at that to say, well, hang on a minute, you caused 2 red flags in this session?
Yeah, I think the first things first is understand why. And then look to see afterwards. It's very difficult to... It's not a safety item. If it was a safety item, without doubt. Here we're on board with Di Grassi coming through the chicane again. And it was just up here on the bump in the compression that he had that failure. And it's the same point. Yeah. It's exactly the same point as before. And so it's a replica, and he's locked up there and just stopped earlier. So it's the same problem as he had, shut down pending.
Yes.
Press OK to abort. Press OK then, Lucas.
I know if it's a sensor issue, disable the sensor.
Just hoping we can hear something here from Di Grassi, but...
No, well, it does certainly look like a sensor, because the sensor's seeing that the car is going above a threshold that it's set. And that's why it's doing the automatic shutdown of the system. It's on a compression, it's on a bump, so see, it's clearly related to that. And what Lucas is saying is, look, just take that sensor out of the system. The question is, what else does that sensor information impact as well? Does it have another function in the background? Because sensors tend to be doing multiple things at multiple times, not just singular sensor for singular result.
But would he be able to, would the team, sorry, be able to extend the threshold of whatever that is?
Yes, you can, it's a setting. It's effectively a setting, like, you know, it works between 20 and 40, and you just put it 20 to 60.
Which might explain why... Oh, here comes Sunbird.
I don't think they should allow a car out if it's already caught a red.
Yeah, that just goes back to the point I was saying there. You know, I guess the argument is, well, hang on a minute, it's caused a red flag. The same problem has happened. You know, you can't have a crystal ball and know that, but...
No, but I would also say if a driver spins twice and causes 2 red flags, does he then get taken out of the car?
Quite. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, if you look at it in practice, for example, or qualifying, in fact, with Jake Hughes last time out, you know, caused a red flag, has lap time deleted, wasn't able to go through into the duels. It was, you know, immaterial anyway, because he wouldn't have been able to make it because the car was damaged, but I guess the point still stands.
I think the point with this, and I do understand it because it's frustrating because the time's counting down, everybody's losing opportunity. Is it a safety point or not? If it's a safety point, without doubt, then the FIA, the governing body, do actually check before a car can go. I know this for a simple fact personally, where we had a technical problem and they did not allow the other car out until we proved it was solved. And that was fact. And so they're very strict and structured in what they do, and correctly so. But this doesn't look like it's a safety issue, it's an error. And as you can see, the circuit is bumpy. The cars are taking off. They're not the only car, it's the only car that's shut down, but the cars are taking off, and there's something that with a Lola Yamaha that is just sensitive at this moment in time.
Yeah, you see the cars getting airborne here as we come through turn 14. Whilst we're under a red flag with just under 4 minutes remaining of this session, let's go down and catch up with the team principal for Nissan, Tommaso Volpe. Of course, Nissan involved in that titanic teams battle going into this weekend. They're 23 points behind Porsche with 2 races remaining.
Thank you, Tom. I'm down here with Tommaso, and firstly, congratulations are in order for Ollie Rowland's Drivers' Championship win, but you can't relax, you can't take your foot off the, well, I was going to say gas, electric pedal, going into this weekend. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, of course. We really care about the team championship and the manufacturer championship as well. So we will do our best to try to win also those during the weekend.
And obviously, it's Norman that's been struggling a little bit more when it comes to scoring points for the team's championship. What have you been talking to him about going into this weekend and trying to say?
Well, he won a race in the WEC.
But not here.
So we just asked him to repeat what he has done in Brazil. So, no, I think he has been unlucky in a couple of occasions. He could have won the race in Miami, so it's not as easy. Of course, when you look at the points, it seems like a disaster, but we know that it's not as bad. So we will try to put him in the best position to maximize his performance here in London.
Well, actually, things that aren't going to be helping with that is how broken up this session's been with red flags. Just can you give a little bit of an insight as to what problems that might cause for the team?
Well, because it's the first free practice, not that much. Of course, Oliver has had a puncture as well, so he hasn't done many laps so far, but it's not ideal, but it's the first free practice, so it's manageable.
Thank you so much, Tommaso. We'll let you get back to it. Back to you, Tom.
And there's Tommaso Volpe there, just talking about him. Very happy man. Happy to be able to talk about the fact that Oliver Rowland has won a World Championship, an FIA Championship for Nissan. And as I understand, it's Nissan's first. So it's a real big deal for Volpe to be able to send that information back, and also a big trophy as well.
Yeah, it would be really good for Nissan. Of course, the team's championship
Hi guys,
is...
just a reminder, everyone should push more between turn 19, please.
Just going back to that point, very big, of course, for Nissan in terms of the team's championship. It's where the financial benefits come from if you finish higher up and so on. And also for Nissan as well, they've committed to Gen 4, they're in Formula E until 2030. Whoa, look at that, as Verline gets caught behind the Jaguar of Nick Cassidy coming through the final corner. Cassidy cruising on the racing line, building himself up to an attack lap, and Verline caught right behind him.
And that's what we just heard race director saying. Please do not, in turn 19, the last lap, make sure you keep some decent speed through there. So the race director, about 10 seconds beforehand, just said what not to do. And exactly that's what happened in front of us. This is not going to be the last time, Tom, we see this happening here.
Yeah, we're probably going to see race direction having a quick look at that as well. So you can see Cassidy's building himself up, and then Verline on an attack lap. Yeah, I mean, that's clear cut, isn't it?
We can do a fast cool down. I know.
Yeah, not happy there is Verline. Oh, goodness me, I mean, that was, yeah.
I've got to be honest with you, there's two parts to this. There is also the Jaguar team not informing their driver appropriately, potentially, that's the case, and also the driver as well. But Verline was, you know, he was on a lap, and he shouldn't have had to abort it like that.
Yeah, so last few seconds then of this session. Norman Nato back in the Nissan hot seat for this weekend. Reports coming out that he's set to keep his seat now for season 12, which will be, it surprises a lot of people actually in the paddock if that does indeed go ahead, because I heard a rumour that Van Dorn could be in that seat next year, but we'll wait and see how it all works out in the wash.
I would suggest that looking at the points this year for Nissan team overall, it's been 95% Oliver Rowland, 5% Norman Nato. He's got to be doing something a lot this weekend to keep his seat, in my opinion.
I would caveat that, though, and say he has had a lot of misfortune now. So if you remember back to Sao Paulo, he had a penalty for a technical problem.
95% of it.
He was still denied the victory in Miami. I mean, look, you know, I get that there are factors that he can control, but there have also been factors outside of his control, just as a point of balance.
And just one thing that can be controlled, Nick Cassidy's now got a black and white flag for driving unnecessarily slowly alongside Jake Hughes as well. I think this is related to that final corner incident.
Yeah, could see a grid penalty coming the way of Nick Cassidy if it carries on as it is. So the checkered flag is now out. Jake Dennis currently quickest ahead of Nick Cassidy by 0.08 of a second. Verline, fortunately, with a bit of clear track in front of him now, is 13th and was quickest overall in the first sector. Lost a bit of time in sector 2, but what is this going to do for the season 10 champion? He comes across the line and he goes up to the top of the pile by nearly 0.3 of a second. So 1:11.2 at the end of free practice 1 here 12 months ago, a 1:08 flat here in 2025. We are really cooking on gas this weekend. Verline then fastest from Jake Dennis, Nick Cassidy as well. So you've got 2 Porsche powertrains in the top 2, a Jaguar then followed by a Nissan powertrain with the Neon McLaren, and Nato also there in P5 for the factory Nissan team as well.
That's good to see, because our conversation that we were just having, this is a big weekend for him. He's going to be feeling the pressure, and he needs to deliver. And you look at Oliver Rowland, his teammate, actually down in 16th at the minute with a 109 flat as well. So don't know what's going on there with Oliver. You'd expect him to be a bit higher. I mean, he won here last year. He's had a really good track record here as well. So, I mean, it's only free practice, but that is a good start for Norman.
Yeah, great start to the weekend for Norman. I hope that it is momentum that does continue. Dan Ticktum also up in 7th quickest for Cooper Kiro. He'll be pretty pleased with that. Not a good session for the Lola Yamaha app team. We know that Lucas de Grassi caused 2 red flags owing to technical problems. Some kind of sensor issue, we believe, with his car. He ended up 21st. Teammate Zamboloni was slower than him, actually, in 22nd position. So some work to do for that outfit ahead of free practice 2 here tomorrow. As I said earlier on, slightly later schedule that we've got here this weekend. FP2 kicks off at 10 AM local time in London. Qualifying will be 20 past 12, and then the race at 5 past 5 in the afternoon. So we're running about 2 hours behind what we normally would do with a traditional Formula E schedule. And of course, for this Marvel Fantastic Four London E-Prix, we've also got Pit Boost on the E-Prix on Saturday as well. So we see the drivers doing their practice starts. I can't wait to see what it's going to be like, Katie, going down to the first corner. Of course, this really grippy indoor surface, and now all-wheel drive as well.
It's an aggressive track here. I think you can see it in the body language of the cars. There's a lot going on for the drivers. There's a lot going on for the engineers to try and find a setup that works and that's balanced in the corners. We've seen a lot of cars with oversteer and a lack of grip, I'd say, as well inside. But then equally outside, you want a car, as Alan said, that's not going to fly. It feels nice to jump, but when you're not accelerating with wheels on the ground, you're losing lap time. So it's very technical, and then put them side by side. There's not a lot of room, as we've seen many times here. Trying to overtake is not easy, especially when a championship fight is on the line.
So 2 red flags in that session. Obviously, it's never nice to have your session disrupted. We did get an extension after the first red flag by 8 minutes. Do you think that that would have interrupted the run plans, though, and caused some teams and drivers to maybe change their strategy at the conclusion of that session, if you see what I mean?
Definitely. I think, you know, they'll be used to not having clean sessions, especially when you're racing on street circuits without the runoff and you need to recover the tracks. But also at the same time, the tyres aren't getting the same heat that they normally get, so perhaps you could argue you don't need to do as many cool-down laps, so you can do consecutive pushes. So maybe they're having more of a chance at push laps than they might normally in a condition where they have to give the tyres extra space to cool down.
So we see Sebastian Buemi being wheeled back into the garage for the Envision team. 15th quickest for Buemi, his teammate Robin Freiss up in 11th position. But an interesting free practice 1 session then does conclude with season 10 world champion Pascal Wehrlein as the quickest driver, Jake Dennis in 2nd, Cassidy was inside the top 3, Bird in 4th position at his home race, and Norman Nato completing the top 5.
So there we have it. That is FP1 done here at the Excel Centre. You know, Pascal Wehrlein back on form after, well, I suppose a bit of a redemption moment because it didn't go so well for him in that second race in Berlin. But let's quickly talk about the action that happened on track, Karun. Lucas de Grassi there. Talk us through those moments.
Well, the car seemed to just come to a stop twice. So, you know, don't fully know if it was the same problem, but it normally would be if it's happened like that. The team, you know, as we could see, it wasn't like he hit anything. It just sort of, it ground to a halt. So they'll be concerned about that. You know, obviously this is Lola Yamaha's first time racing here on sort of their home ground, I guess, you know, for the Lola perspective at least. So they'd be hoping that they understand what's happened because they don't want that to repeat itself for the rest of the weekend. So that's their primary concern, really, is to spend the next, well, 12 hours before the next practice session getting on top of these issues. But yeah, as we can see, yeah, he pulled over there near where the attack mode is and came to a stop.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy time in the garage this evening ahead of tomorrow as we kick off bright and early with FP2. And then Nick Cassidy as well. Talk us through those moments going off the racing line.
Well, we were just hearing Alan talking about, you know, how you've got to be really aware of cars coming behind you. You know, they're all trying to make a gap. It's a short track. They're trying to make a gap. You're trying to pack 22 cars around here. So inevitably you get this concertina effect. Cassidy's, I think the stewards have noted, the incident at the final corner where he was trying to make that gap, unaware, it seemed, that Pascal Wehrlein behind was on a quick lap. So there's two things. One is he should have been watching his mirrors. The race director has been pretty clear about not slowing down there. But secondly, Jaguar should have made him aware of that. So yeah, it's a conversation, but I think it's free practice. There's no big harm done. As you say, Wehrlein still top of the times. So no massive issue, but it will be an issue when we get to qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, generally, though, the Jaguar drivers were both looking pretty quick up until the last couple of laps.
Yeah, this is, we're looking here. This is Wehrlein. So he was on a good lap, went a bit deep there at the right-hander, you know, the final second of the lap, and you go left, right, start to climb slightly uphill. So you can see Cassidy, at this point, wouldn't have been able to see him in the mirrors until he got to the penultimate corner. Now, quite clearly, he could. But he was backing off. He was focusing on the car in front, and you know, a not very friendly wave from Wehrlein. I understand his displeasure with that.
I mean, frustrations, but it is only FP1. I mean, hello. Can you get a grid penalty for that? Katie, no. You look marvellous. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, we were just discussing, you know, whether or not, would you get a grid penalty for that?
I would hope not, because I think in free practice, you know, you kind of let the drivers off the hook. So I would hope not, but I'm sure that Porsche and Pascal Wehrlein have a different view.
Yeah, Katie, reflecting on that first session, you know, are there any outliers, unexpected results, would you say?
Yeah, it was great to see Sam Bird up in fourth. We've not really spoken about that yet. He's obviously had a frustrating season for himself. He's been wanting to prove himself and to try and fight for another seat. So he's going to be looking for a really decent result. I don't know if it's a bit late, maybe, to be looking for that for next year. But in any case, I think if it is his last race, he'll be wanting to go out on a bang. So him, and also to see Norman up there in, I think he was fifth, or yeah, I think he was fifth. So that's a really great result for him as well. He's going to be needing it this weekend for the Nissan points for the championship.
Exactly, going to be absolutely critical getting Norman Nato on board with some more points for Nissan. But of course, the Nissan driver we have been talking about the most is our new Formula E world champion, Oliver Rowland. Let's hear from him now.
Yeah, I think it's sunk in now, and realised what an incredible achievement it's been, and it's the best achievement I've had in my career. It's a dream come true, really. It's something I've been trying to do for such a long time. I think to achieve what they set out is a huge accomplishment for Nissan and the whole team. Hopefully this is just the beginning of the second phase of my career.
I mean, Oliver Rowland coming into this race weekend, it was such an emotional win, wasn't it? We had, well, I cried a couple of times. I don't know about you, Kate. Did you get the tears out, Karim?
When his daughter came on the radio, it was so sweet.
Wasn't it emotional?
I think it's because the parents in us has sort of unlocked these the sappiness. But it
you
was,
can relate, can't you? Though, you know, as a father hearing
fantastic.
from your daughter on the radio.
Yeah, and also because I know he's been on a journey. You know, Oliver came through the junior formulas, achieving good results. Didn't get the opportunities in F1. Did a bit of testing with Williams. Was at Alpine. Didn't get that opportunity. Pivoted to a career in Formula E. You know, he lost his father along the way at a young age when he was still in junior racing. So, you know, it's been a tough road for him. He's found other people like Derek Warwick to mentor him. So he's been on a journey. And I think for him then to reach the very top of winning a world championship was a culmination of that. And more than anything, he's just a great guy. He's such a lovely guy, and I was very pleased to see him win.
Yeah, I mean, he really is. He always has such a positive energy as well, Katie. Like, even, you know, when things haven't gone his way, whether it's been his fault or the team's fault, you know, when it has been a tougher time, he always still brings this positivity. He's not an angry, frustrated driver.
He's definitely got an air of calmness around him. And we were discussing earlier, he's not just a quick driver. He is so smart. He's one of the smartest drivers out on the grid. He's so incredible at energy management and handling those challenges as well that come with it, because Formula E is such a unique championship. But it does feel like in the last couple of years, he's just flipped a switch where he's just gone up another level compared to where he was in the past. And I think it does take time to get that experience in Formula E. And that's what's so impressive with his rookie, Taylor Barnard, as well, that he's been coaching along the way, that's been able to come in his first season and understand how to do the energy management like it was easy.
That's a really good point, actually. You know, we always talk about the wonder boy, Taylor Barnard, but of course, he has got Oliver Rowland in his corner helping him out. But there is another driver who has got everything at stake this weekend. Pascal Wehrlein and his team at Porsche are going to be trying their best, fighting against Nissan in the team's standings, indeed, for that championship. And earlier, he was catching up with Saunders.
Pascal Wehrlein, here we are in London. This is the final weekend of the season, and there is still very much some battles ahead, isn't there, in the teams and manufacturers?
Yeah, still a lot to fight for. So our targets are clear that we want to fight and win the teams and the manufacturer championship, and we are currently leading both, but not with a big gap. So yeah, we need to have a strong weekend.
No, lots of things on the line here. Obviously on the drivers, the championship is gone and well deserved for Ollie. He's a great champion, and but yeah, you know, we're not far from P2. I think from P2 to P6 it's pretty close, so we've got a pretty cool fight going on for the final 2 steps of the podium in the drivers championship. But I think the big goal for us here this weekend is yeah, teams and manufacturers. We finished second on those last year, and bringing those 2 world titles back to Germany for Porsche would be amazing, and a great way to end the season. So yeah, just a big reward for everybody. You know, it means a lot for everybody that works on our cars and allows us to be competitive every weekend. So that's the main focus for us this weekend.
Taylor Barnard, here we are. It's a London race, a home race for you and the team. Mixed feelings, right? Because there's a championship to go there and try and get as a Nissan powertrain, but also we're aware that it's the last one with Papaya on the grid.
Yeah, of course. I mean, mixed emotions for me this weekend. Of course, Nissan's fighting for manufacturer championship, and I'm fighting for second in the drivers championship. But it's also going to be my last time out. So I think myself and the team are going to focus on the job at hand as much as we possibly can. And then after Sunday, of course, the emotions will be going a little bit, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the weekend, and I think we're going to do a good job.
Nick Cassidy, here we are back in London. Now, a couple of things. First of all, it's going to be a bit of an emotional weekend for you, isn't it? It's your last race weekend in the black and white of the Jaguar livery and kit.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, it's quite nice of the team to come together with myself and be able to announce this pre-weekend. I think, you know, we can speak openly, really enjoy our last moments together for the season, and hope to go out on a high.
Lovely stuff, thank you, Saunders. Yeah, it is, of course, you know, so many of the drivers last race weekend with some of their teams, and we will see some drivers depart the championship as well. So much to play for. We are standing outside the Porsche garage. I just want to touch upon what happened last time out between the 2 teammates in FP1. You know, the tensions have not been building. They've been present throughout the season between Pascal Wehrlein and Antonio Felix da Costa. And there was that moment where they came together and crashed in FP1 last time out. How much do you think is that going to affect them, Karun, coming into this race weekend, or if they really put it behind them?
I think they just get on with it. You know, I think they're both very, very experienced professionals. I mean, let's have another look at it here. You can see this is some form of weird misunderstanding. And when you listen back to the team radio, it's, you know, it seems like some miscommunication between what the run plan was. Yeah. You know, one thought that the other car was on a build lap, and it all just got a bit confusing. So they would have analysed it and put it past them, and they just get on with it now, I think. And,
you know, you've got 2 world champions. Pascal Wehrlein will have some very fond memories, because this, of course, is where he was crowned world champion last year. Antonio Felix Costa, also a former world champion. So the calibre of these drivers are just the best in the paddock. So they're going to have to work together to try and extract as many points as possible to bring home that team's championship.
They are, and I think the fact that the Drivers' Championship has been decided actually plays into the hands of Porsche a bit, because they've taken that element of both of their drivers fighting for that championship out, because that was the case, you know, when we were back in Berlin. So I think here they are going to be very clear that they're playing the team strategy and that they both need to be picking up points. And they will be aware of the fact that both drivers this year have been consistently scoring good points and have the ability to, which might play into the hands versus Nissan, who are slightly unsure of the situation there.
I think the weird thing, the whole dynamic, is if you go back to the last 2 seasons, Pascal Wehrlein is been the favoured child, and Antonio Felix da Costa is sort of firmly jumping up and down saying, like me, want me. And now they're in this weird thing where we think he's leaving the team, but they have to release him, but now they don't want to release him. It's all gotten very confusing. But I think that's
Can you give us any insight there?
No, because
some intel?
I'm just really confused. Apart from the fact that clearly he's the less favoured child in that team. And that's just added to this weird dynamic that they've got going on.
Yeah, well, soon we will find out what is really going on. Let's find out. Maybe, Billy, Alan, do you know something that you can tell us?
Thanks, Nikki. So we're down at DS Penske right now, a team that's currently third in the team standings. Alan, for a team like Penske, how do you reflect on their season so far up until this point?
Actually, it's been a bit of a under-the-radar season in reality. They had a fantastic Shanghai where they were double points and running at the front, won the race. But in reality, they've kind of been there or thereabouts. They haven't had the surgence that they've had in the past. You know, especially Jean-Eric Vergne. He's the only double champion in this category in the 11 seasons. He is a stunning driver. He's always fighting there and always getting something out of it. And so therefore, I think in reality, they're third, but they've been a silent third.
Yeah, silent third, and we're into that stage now where silly season is the topic of choice and where we are putting our attentions. When you look at the lineup that we've got here at DS Penske, you've got Max Günther, race winner, you've got Jean-Eric Vergne, double champion in the sport, but there are rumblings that potentially this might change for next season. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it will change. I think something will change because part of the fact is that Jean-Eric Vergne is part of the Stellantis racing group as well. He races for Peugeot in the World Endurance Championship, and there's a question of where all of the collective of the drivers could sit, and I could see a change here, and I don't think a change is a bad thing. I think a change is like shaking the snow globe. You know what it's like, sometimes you just need that extra energy coming back into it, and it could be in the shape of another driver.
And then we said in the team standings they're currently third. They're 60 points behind the lead as Porsche. Do you think, off what we saw in FP1 there, they were down at 18th and 20th, do you think they have a chance to be in it? No, you think they're
I don't.
Fully
I think they've got to
contention?
watch their third place because it could be going to Jaguar.
Yeah, you seem to think that Jaguar, they are on a good run of form, aren't they?
They're on a run of form. They've won 3 out of the last 4 races. They were super quick here last year. They should have won the team's title last year and the driver's title. They only came away with the team's title. So really, I think that they are the form ones. And here, they're just trying to protect that third place in the team's title now.
And we can't have silly season chat, Alan, and hear that you think there's going to be change here without finding out where do you think they're likely to end up and who do you think is the most likely to move out of the team?
I would actually say that Jean-Eric Vergne will probably be thinking about what is the best thing for him. He's been here for such a long time, not necessarily with the Penske name alongside it, but within this DS system. And I could see there a change there. I think a refresh for him would also be quite good. Who comes in his place? There's a lot of great opportunity. Great team, lots of potential, and I could also see them thinking outside of the box as well, going for someone new.
And quickly, just what we saw in FP1 there, we're here in London, the last race weekend of the season. A few issues out on circuit there. Is there anything, any reasons you think we might have seen some of those issues?
Well, it's really, really bumpy. As you can see, there's a compression on the back straight, which is not a straight because you're turning. And the cars are then coming up in, actually taking off. And then later, about 200 metres later, they're taking off again. And actually, just saw Nick Cassidy walking down with his engineer. And there was a huge arm movement as he's talking about how much the car is compressing and jumping. So I think that is going to be something they'll be trying to find their way around.
Well, we've got lots to look forward to. FP1 is done, but I'm going to throw back to Nikki for more action.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, guys. And I'm delighted to say that joining us now, we have James Barclay in the house. James, how are you? How does it feel coming back to the XL Centre? Is it a bit sort of bittersweet because of what you won, but also maybe what you didn't win?
Yeah, listen, I think 2 out of 3 championships last year was very special. But as always, you want to try and win it all, especially when you're in a position to win it all. So I'm not going to lie, we did leave with a bit of disappointment not getting a drivers' championship. I wanted that for both of them. But 2 out of 3 on measure is actually a great and a really successful weekend for us.
It was an incredible run out last time in Berlin. It feels like the momentum's back for Jaguar, especially when you think about the team's championship. Is there anything that you've got your sights set on this weekend?
Yeah, there's 2 races. That's a lot of racing to be done, a lot of points to go after. 71 points in Berlin. If you have a weekend like that, just look at the tables and it tells you everything you need to know. So eyes forward, just got to focus on doing the best job possible. Hey, listen, we have nothing to lose. We're just coming to just enjoy this race and do as much as we can. 3 wins in the last 4. Nick's scored more points than anybody for a real run of races now, and we're in a really positive position. We just go and do our best job possible.
People at home may not be aware, but this is going to be your last race with Jaguar. You're moving on after this. Have you got to sign a second driver before you go, or is that the next person's job?
Well, yes, we announced that yeah, Nick's leaving the team, and personally, I'm really pleased for him, and for us, we've got an exciting plan ahead, and we'll announce that in the future. Yeah, a few key things to do before my time's finished, and that's one of them.
So you're not going to tell us who the second driver's going to be?
Not today. We'll keep that close to our chest for now.
How far into the future are you going to tell us?
Only time will tell me.
This weekend? Not giving it away.
It's very
It was
good.
worth a try, wasn't it? Well, James Barclay, thank you very much for joining us for this part of the show, and good luck for the team. I'm sure you've told them you've got to bring home the champagne for your last race weekend.
Maximum push, maximum push. Thank you.
Absolutely as well. 10 a.m. BST tomorrow. You can join us for FP2 when Formula E returns here at the XL Centre. See you then.